And guess what? My microphone died. So I have my second microphone here. And guess what? I had completely did not realize that my microphone had gone out and I kept recording for like 30 more minutes. So yay, I have to do that again. Yeah, so this is where a tiny bit of editing comes into play on my channel because normally I don't do that, but when stuff like this happens, I have to re-record again. But thankfully, I was about 30 minutes into my first recording, so I don't have to read the first chapter of this again. Yeah, so anyway, where was I? When before my mic cut out, apparently I was talking about the reading order of the Chronicles of Narnia, or like my proposed reading order. So here we go. So I think, yeah, so I had just mentioned that I recommend The Language and the Wardrobe for new readers, but this is what I propose for people who are looking for a way to kind of spice up their reading experience. So, really quick, we're just going to do a quick round because I just I don't want to have to re-record this again. So we're doing this lightning round. So my proposed reading order is the last battle first, so you can get the worst out of the way. You know how they say save the best for last? So you might as well start with the worst. Boom, it's gone. It's out of the way. Then quickly move to this one because guess what? The lore in both of these I feel like go really good back to back. So first start with that one and then go with this one. Language in the Wardrobe. And then go back and watch my horse and his boy video, or if you've already watched it already, this will make sense. But read this until chapter 17. In the middle of chapter 17, in my horse and his boy video, I will mention, excuse me, where to stop. Read this, go back and finish the rest of that last chapter. Move on to Prince Caspian, and then this one, and then this one. Boom. That is my proposed reading order. However, if you want to kind of read it a slightly different way, because even though I love The Silver Chair, I will say the ending of it is kind of a little bit too bittersweet for my taste. Not as bad as Last Battle, obviously, but if you want to have something that's like a little bit more of a hopeful ending, I would recommend instead of reading The Magician's Nephew second after the last battle, you would do the last battle and then like the rest of the reading as I just proposed, but sans The Magician's Nephew. Then after the Silver Chair, you read this and it's kind of like coming in like a nice, beautiful circle. What the heck? Did you guys hear that? Well, I'm not going to worry about that. I think just one of my trinkets fell. It's fine. But anyway, this one I think is like a nice, happy, lighthearted, like kind of ending to everything because then it's like you're reading the beginning all over again. So, anyway, or you could just not read the last battle. You could just not read the last battle. You can choose to do that. And that's what I've done many, many times. But anyway, that is my proposed reading order. I hope that that makes sense. Sorry I didn't go slower because, again, I don't want to re-record this. So, anyway, next I'm going to get to a topic that hold on. Last topic, I'm going to kind of like try to, I don't know, it's like I feel like I said everything well the first time. So, I'm going to try to rehash it in a good way, but I'm just going to make it a lot shorter. So, here we go. So, the last battle, also, spoiler alert for people who haven't read it, I'm about to get into some major spoilers. So, you may want to click off the video if you don't want to listen to this part. I'll probably include maybe like a if there is an end to like the spoiler section, I'll include like a timestamp down below for you to skip past. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about an issue that is a lot of people have with this book when they get to the end of it, and it's mostly a lot of feminists and a lot of C.S. Lewis scholars, and I want to kind of clear the air with this controversy, or not really controversy, but just like this issue that people have with this book. And I'm going to give a very simple answer that it seems like a lot of, especially scholars, which I'm just like, for being people who are so smart, you really are not seeing what's plainly there, but here we go. Sorry, I'm a little bit extra saucy because I'm just like, the microphone. But anyway, here we go. But yeah, I'm just surprised that people haven't noticed this. And I'm just like, it's easy. It's right there. The answer is right there. But anyway, here we go. So here's kind of where the spoiler alerts start. In the last battle, there is this thing that is known among scholars and just people who know the Chronicles of Narnia and who most likely, when they think of the last battle, they think of this. It is a thing called the quote unquote problem with Susan. And I'm about to read it to you. So this is close to the end. And a lot of the characters from the previous Chronicles of Narnia have just made appearances. It's all of the humans who have come from our world into Narnia, and they're all together. And they're meeting the current king of Narnia for the first time. So here we go. But, sir, said Tyrion, when he had greeted all the characters, if I have read the chronicle aright, there should be another. Has not your majesty two sisters? Where is Queen Susan? My sister Susan, answered Peter shortly and gravely, is no longer a friend of Narnia. Yes, said Eustace, and whenever you've tried to get her to come and talk about Narnia, or do anything about Narnia, she says, what wonderful memories you have. Fancy, you're still thinking about all those funny games we used to play when we were children. Oh, Susan, said Jill, she's interested in nothing nowadays except nylons and lipstick and invitations. She always was a jolly sight too keen on being grown up. Grown up indeed, said the Lady Polly. I wish she would grow up. She wasted all her school time wanting to be the age she is now, and she'll waste all the rest of her life trying to stay that age. Her whole idea is to race on to the silliest time of one's life as quick as she can, and then stop there as long as she can. And that is the passage that everyone takes umbrage with. And I'm here to say that you probably don't need to, because first of all, the feminists hate this because they're just like, oh my gosh, they're totally like slut shaming her, and like blah 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 blah, and like Aslan like doesn't like Susan because she like most likely like found sex and sexuality because of like the mention of like the invitations and like liking lipstick and looking pretty and blah 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 blah. It's not because of that. First of all, C.S. Lewis is not like making fun of people or like being sex or not making fun of women particularly, or being sexist and being like, oh, women who like love lipstick and nylons and like looking pretty, like those are terrible women or like loose women or blah 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 blah. First of all, man, this is like a whole different topic, but the whole like feminist argument of like slut shaming, I'm just like, listen, shame, I'm not about shame, but I am just like, people also kind of need to know maybe when they're doing something wrong in their life because, like partying and sleeping around, it's just like, and I'm not saying like using judgment or shame, but I'm saying like being gentle with that person and just, and also sometimes people who do stuff like that, they just kind of have to come to their own realization of the error of their own ways. But yeah, I feel like the whole like slut shaming, like, like not doing that has become very detrimental to a lot of young women in society. But I'm not here to talk about that. I didn't even talk about this in the first time I recorded it. It just came to my mind now. But we're not talking about that. But a lot of scholars who look at this passage, their kind of issue, or like they're trying to kind of like read too much between the lines of like, why isn't Susan accepted into Narnia? And so a lot of people have proposed like, well, it's because she grew up, or it's because she found sex and sexuality and Aslan didn't like that, and so that's why he like kept her out of Narnia and all this stuff. Or what is it, or like Aslan hates her because of that. That's not the reason. The answer is very, very, very simple. I believe what C.S. Lewis was doing, and guess what? He also had a letter to a fan. He wrote a letter to a fan who actually asked, like, will Susan ever be able to return to Narnia? Like, what happened to her? C.S. Lewis himself said in the letter to that fan that he believes that Susan can get back to Narnia. She can find her way back, and there's still time for her. And that kind of backs up my theory as to what I believe C.S. Lewis was doing with the allegory, not problem, because guess what? There is no problem with Susan. It's the allegory of Susan and her life. What people in Narnia who come from our world into Narnia represent, they're called the Friends of Narnia or the True Narnians. They, um, what is it? They represent Christians or people who have faith, who are like coming into faith, and they represent like Christians, people who believe in God, who have accepted him into their hearts and he accepts them. Susan is an allegory for people who maybe had faith as a child, but they have grown up and, excuse me, just like the seed that was thrown onto soil in the parable of the sower, and the vines and the thorns had grown up and choked the word out. It was because these people, like, they became too preoccupied with the cares and concerns of this present world that the word was choked out of them. That is what I believe C.S. Lewis is doing with Susan. It is not because she found sex or sexuality, or that she was being like some vain woman, or that Aslan hated her. And it's not even just that she grew up, it's literally because she allowed the innocence and the childlike wonder and her faith in Narnia to be choked up by the cares and concerns of this world. And she became more interested and concerned about like her looks and like getting the latest thing and stuff like that. And I think that that's what C.S. Lewis was going for. It wasn't like him trying to be sexist, and like a lot of people have umbrage apparently with like the whole line about nylons and lipsticks. First of all, C.S. Lewis was a bachelor for a very long time in his life, and he only married once, and he married Davidman Davidson Davidson. Sorry, he married her when he was like, I think he was like in his 50s, I believe. Don't quote me on that. And so I don't take offense at that, because I'm like, he was a bachelor for most of his life. What did he know about like the things that young ladies liked? And there's nothing sexist or misogynistic about that. It's just like he was a dude, you know? Like let's let the men let's leave the men alone, please. And I think that what he was doing was he was just like, well, what are the ladies like nowadays, you know? Like what is it that a lot of young women are kind of after a lot nowadays? And honestly, I feel like a lot of women haven't really changed in that respect. I mean, you have like women buying all these like expensive clothes, the newest like Gucci or Coach bag or whatever, like going to Ulta to get that makeup haul and, stuff like that, the influencer girlies. And honestly, I feel like that's what Susan kind of was doing. And if Narnia was written nowadays, that's kind of what Susan would be, is she'd be like one of these influencer girlies who is just going after like the Coach bags and like, just all these material things, basically. Like, and I think that that's what C.S. Lewis was trying to convey, was like she was all about the material things of this world that do not last, that you cannot take with you. So essentially, as Madonna would say, she was a material girl living in a material world, basically. Yeah. And I think that that is what C.S. Lewis was going for. Is again, just like what I said with that scripture, she's an allegory of someone who had faith, but then the cares and concerns of this world, and like, the distractions and like the idols of everyday life, these material things that don't really mean anything, these like things that come with wealth and status and blah, 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 social status, especially. I think that that is what is really happening with Susan. I think that that is truly, the quote unquote problem, even though I don't believe that there's actually a problem. And I think that like the feminists need to stop calling C.S. Lewis a misogynistic, like sexist man, and they need to actually kind of like, because I think a lot of the reason why a lot of people have such an offense at Susan not being included as with the Friends of Narnia is because they just can't get past like these things that were written, and also they're just like reading too much into things when really the answer is right there on the page. And also, and it's not even just like the words nylons, lipsticks, and invitations, and just want being too keen on growing up. If you look I would say look a little bit between the lines, but just like looking not at just those words, but realizing that, oh, it's the cares and concerns of this world. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to go too deep into that because that's just a lot, but that is truly what I believe. Um, the true problem with Susan is it's not anything like, like just stop trying to dive in too deep of thinking like, oh, it's because she found sex, it's because she grew up, it's because Aslan hates her, and blah 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 blah, all this stupid stuff. Just I would say don't listen to that because I'm just like that's just it's like getting into conspiracy theories. It's just like once you go down that rabbit trail, it will never end. I think that this is truly what C.S. Lewis was going for. We won't truly know, unless he has some sort of hidden journal somewhere. Or, we get to heaven and we get to ask him. But I truly believe that that is what C.S. Lewis meant by why Susan is not a friend of Narnia anymore. I rest my case. Maybe someday I will do an article on Substack or a longer video where I just kind of read off some notes and like have a more clear cut kind of argument as to why I believe this is the true quote unquote problem with Susan. Because it's just like I've seen too many people like write stories or write articles and stuff about that. And like a lot of them also, it's because a lot of them have hurt and like offense at God as well as to why they hate this. And I'm just like, you cannot come at it from that way. You have to come at it from a place of like faith and also understanding and not coming at it from like your own bias or offense. You have to like learn to see the truth for what it is, plain and simple. And that is what I believe. So, anyway, I hope that this isn't too bad. I know that it just kind of sucks that this is like the second recording of this because I feel like I did pretty good the first time I said this, but I think I was able to get my point across. So, anyway, I'm just going to go ahead, put the book back in its case, and I'm going to tell you guys just a little bit before I go about this, which I'm so excited about this. They still sell this, I believe, or maybe you can get it secondhand. But I don't think I ever showed you guys fully like the box. But yeah, this box set I've had for quite a few years, almost 20 years at this point, and which I need to ask my mom exactly when I got this because this was a Christmas gift, I believe, from yeah, it was a Christmas gift from my grandma, and I think it was a few years before she passed away from cancer, and it's one of um the gifts that I still have from her that I cherish. I obviously have my Aslan necklace too, and I very much cherish this. Funny story that goes with this: it was wrapped up when she handed it to us, and we were gonna take it back to our house and like put it under the tree. And I think I accidentally dropped it, and it almost landed on my foot. The wrapping paper kind of broke a little bit, but not too much to see what was on the inside. And I remember asking my grandma, like, what is this? What's in here? And I was like, is this like a brick? Are these like wrapped bricks? And she's like, yeah, it's wrapped gold bricks. That was one of our jokes, was like, if we got a heavy gift, we were like, is it gold bricks? We would always joke that she would get us gold bricks. And so, yeah, um, yeah, super awesome. And also, I think also one of the great ways to have the Narnia collect or Narnia, Chronicles in your collection is if you get like the omnibus, which is like all seven together. I think the most popular form of that is the one that's like all black and it has the face of Aslan on the front. So pretty. We actually have that copy. But the one that I really want to get for my personal collection is the Barnes and Noble leather-bound one, which they unfortunately don't make anymore. So sad. A little upset about. And it originally used to retail for like $25-$30, and people are selling it for like 100, 150. I think someone had it like listed for like 1,000 somewhere or like in the 500s, and I'm just like, I just want to get this. I don't want to like have to like pay like so much money for this. So I don't know. That's one book that I'm definitely hoping to find someday. Crossing my fingers so tightly, crossing my fingers. And then just wanted to show you guys this. It's my bookmark. I think I got this off of a cereal box when the movie was being advertised, but yeah, I cut it out and then my mom just laminated it, and it's very wrinkled because I used to have a, well, I kind of still do, but not as badly, but I used to just kind of do that. That I just would do that while I would read. I have quite a few books, not nowadays, but I did that to a lot of book pages too. Thankfully, I don't do that anymore. But it was just like something to keep my hands busy while I read, and I would just do that to, my bookmarks. But anyway, yeah, that's it. That is the end of Narnia week. Hopefully, this recorded properly. Please, Jesus. But yeah, and just to reiterate, check out the links and stuff below if you haven't already. I also will have a link down below for the playlist for Narnia week. And yeah, I think that that's pretty much it. Yeah, all the things. And also, let me know what, because I completely forgot to ask this earlier in the week or in each video, but let me know, what is your favorite Chronicle of Narnia? Maybe I did actually ask that in the first part of the video, but I'm going to reiterate it here. Let me know what your favorite Chronicle of Narnia is. I would like to know. Um, but yeah, anyway, just thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, all those things. I think I will probably release maybe one or two reading videos in December, but I'm mostly just going to kind of take it, take it chill. I'm just going to take it easy a little bit. So if I post next month, good. If I only post one video, it's fine. But it's the holidays. So anyway, just thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for supporting my channel and all that. And yeah, it's good to see you guys. It's good to have you here. So anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. God bless. Bye.